Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about different opinions, mindsets, and how it relates to our world today. Because if you know anything about our world and what's going on, there's going to be so many different views, so many different mindsets, so many different beliefs and identities being created. Well, what is right? What is wrong? If someone has a different view on something, are they incorrect? Or should I appreciate that they have a different view? Or should I say, you know what, I love your view and I should just conform to it, right? I'm looking at someone else's view. They say they have this view and I say, okay, I'm going to conform to it. Because there's so many factors in having different opinions. And the opinion that I hold might not be the opinion you hold. Yeah, I might believe that my opinion is valid, and yet you might have an opposing opinion that you believe is valid. Who's right and who's wrong? We're not trying to point the finger here, but let's take a look at some of the news that's been happening and begin to understand, well, what's a different opinion in different areas? Because if we can look at one area and look at the next, we can start to see, well, this is the cause and the effect of what's happening. All right, everyone, if you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to also share this video and our audio to help build a community of like-minded individuals. Now, today we're going to be breaking down some recent news, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 different news stations. We're going to be looking at what Fox News has to offer, CNN, InfoWars, BBC News, and then ABC News. I know there's many other websites that we can go to, New York Times, Washington Post. Again, all of those are going to be just a different opinion. And we're just going to try to see what is trending on these and then talk about the opinion, talk about the other side too, because what is said here might not be what people believe. For example, what's in front of me right now is in Fox News, they say that every single Supreme Court justice agreed to vacate critical abortion ruling except one. So that's just going to mean that there's going to be one person out of all the people that's not going to be agreeing to the abortion ruling. Now, just because that one person didn't agree to it doesn't make it where now everyone should just say, well, okay, well, since one person didn't agree, let's try to figure this out where we can make that person agree, right? So we're trying to change that person to make them agree. Is that right? Just because you have a different opinion or you vote in a different way, it doesn't make you a bad person. There's just going to be people with different beliefs, people who have different structures in their life, and that's how they want to live their life. It's their life, truly. They get to live how they want to. Then we look at another story here. Recently, Trump was indicted to be arrested on some causes. Currently, he is still being pursued, but there's going to be people on both sides, right? People are like, well, he didn't do anything. And there's going to be people who are going to be like, put him in jail. He deserves to be in jail. Which one is right, right? Who is right for that? Of course, the justice system is going to take heed in what the evidence is and then to see if any laws were broken. And then, of course, the right action should be taken, right? Especially if it's going to a grand jury. Then we have trouble in the neighborhood where there's going to be shooters and teenagers shooting up homes and shooting up each other. We have an epidemic of violence where we do have to do some self-reflection and understand and ask ourselves, well, why is all this violence happening? We might say that the violence is happening because of video games. We might say the violence is happening because of social media. We might say the violence is happening because of culture or gangs. There's just so many different factors. If I have a different opinion to why there's gang violence and why this has become a bigger problem, and you have a different opinion, are you wrong or am I right? And am I wrong or are you right? And we have to understand that there's just going to be different opinions, that there is. Then we look at the current sitting president, President Biden. His approval ratings are plummeting. Now, you might think he's doing a wonderful job, and I might think he's doing a terrible job. Just because I think he's doing a terrible job and you think he's doing a wonderful job does not mean he's doing a wonderful job. Heck, it doesn't even mean he's doing a terrible job. So our opinions and our beliefs that we hold, it doesn't necessarily mean truth. So yes, we have our facts that can be stated as facts. For example, if we polled everyone in America and we ask, well, do you agree to the president's actions today? Or do you agree to what the president is doing in our country? You can have just a simple yes or no, where people agree that the president is on the right track, or maybe they say that the president is not on the right track. You might have something close, like 49% believe he's on track and 51% of people believe that he's not on track. Just because almost half the country is going to be divided, it doesn't necessarily mean that the majority is the winner, right? Oh, we believe he's bad and we need to kick him out and we need to impeach him. It's not always that simple because people are just going to like people differently. I remember when Obama got into the presidency, right? Just him and his color was enough to make people saying, you know what, I don't like the guy. Yeah, of course, he had different opinions and different strategies. And again, the political party he was in, many people are going to be thinking, well, is this guy the right fit? Is this guy going to help the country grow rather than fall apart? We can have different opinions there. And then we go to something like CNN and we're talking again about things that have been happening with Trump. And then if Putin was arrested, and if you know anything about what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, that right there is going to be, again, a different type of opinion. Russia believes that their rights and sovereignties are going to be taken away because NATO is getting too close and there's just too much going on. And they're like, well, we're going to fight back. So that's why this conflict is happening. And then we have Zelensky, who's begging America and begging countries for money to help stay in the fight. We might agree that other countries should help and provide ammo and weapons and personnel and aid and money. But then there's going to be people who don't believe that. Are they right? Are they wrong? It's a different opinion. And we're going to be talking about those different opinions. I'm just going to go through these quick news articles really quickly. InfoWars, same thing, right? The banks are collapsing and LGBT rights are going to be something that are going to be talked about. That right there is a divide too, right? So what do we do if our country is falling apart? If we're going into recession, what do we do? Then we look at BBC News, right? The CEO of TikTok is under scrutiny because there are going to be people who feel that TikTok is breaching people's personal data and there's a privacy concern between the user, the government, and what TikTok is able to see. Now, there is a lot of talk about this. Should you be able to see someone's data on a platform that you sign up for? That right there is going to lead to another opinion. One side might be, well, if you signed up for it, you're going to be having to deal with what the company wants. And then the other side is going to be, well, I want to use this, but I don't want to be giving away some of my privacies to a company that wants them for me to use one of their services or social medias, is what TikTok is. And then there's talking about how World Athletics bans transgender female athletes, because there's a whole talk about how if as long as you say you're a woman and you say you're transgender, then you could participate in women's sports, you can go to women's jail. Now people are kind of getting down to it saying, no, you are a man, you are a woman, you just can't make up who you want to be to benefit for you, right? But then there's the opinion of like the trans, they'll say, well, if I want to be this and I'm that, you have to respect that. There's a different opinion there too. Then we look at ABC, they're talking about the same things, contaminated eye drops, and they're talking about the CEO, and they're talking about more violence happening in the schools and more violence happening in the world. And there's a lot to be understood. And there's a lot to digest from just looking at these 5 websites because they all have different opinions. Which one is right? So it's difficult to say, well, which one is right? Because I can easily say, well, TikTok should be banned. It shouldn't be looking at your privacy. I can easily say Biden's doing a terrible job. He should be impeached. I can easily say that there should be more restriction on guns because people are using them for violence. But that's just that small group of people. Because yes, there's going to be good people and there's going to be bad people. And even if the country is divided into what they believe, it doesn't mean that we still can't understand something that's very important. That we're all in this together, that our leader is our leader, and that this is our country, right? Together we help our country be our country, what our country is. And I think people think in a singular notion when it comes to their opinion, because they say, well, this is what I believe, this is what I'm going to fight for. And if you don't believe what I believe, or if you're not going to fight in my fight, then you're my enemy. Yeah, you don't have to be someone's enemy in order to just disagree with them. And I remember when I was in 5th grade, I asked their officer this question because it was one of the things I was thinking about. If someone asks you to buy some drugs and you say no, will they beat you up or something like that because you didn't buy their drugs. No, they won't. Most likely they'll say, okay, cool, and then move on to the next person. All right. They're not just looking to beat people up that are not buying their drugs. It's just a different opinion, right? One person wants to give me something that's going to be harmful maybe to me. And then I'm trying to say, well, I don't want that, right? So there's a conflict there. And there's conflicts in all of our days now. Social media, mainstream media, it has made it so easy to know what's going on in the world. And it has made it very easy for us to conform different opinions. And it has made it very easy for us to congregate with people who have similar mindsets. And we talked about this concept before about how you hang around people with similar mindsets. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Because if you're hanging around fixed-minded individuals, is that going to be good for you long term? Most likely not. And we do have to understand that just because you have people who have the same beliefs as you, it doesn't mean that their fight is your fight and that your fight is their fight. Because we, again, are going to be brought up in a different way. Our identity, how we create ourselves, is going to be unique. For me, I believe that people should be whoever they want to be. I do believe in regulations, and I do believe that there has to be some type of restrictions. However, if someone wants to pretend to be an opposite sex, hey, that's them. But just because they pretend, it doesn't mean it becomes the reality to everyone else. So that means if you want to pretend you're an opposite gender, you can't just say that, okay, well, I'm going to go into the opposite gender sports because you might have an unfair advantage. I'm not saying that you can't be who you are. I'm just saying that there is going to be some boundaries because you just can't pretend to be something that you're not. For example, I might say, well, I'm an astronaut. I didn't go to astronaut school and I didn't get trained by NASA. But you have to respect who I want to be or who I say I am. So if I'm an astronaut, I'm an astronaut. No, I'm not, right? I don't have the credentials. You might not have the body parts to be the person you think you are. So that is like the LGBT stuff, transgender stuff. Equality though, right? Like same-sex marriage, things along those lines. That's an opinion, right? There's going to be people who are very religious who thinks it's like a sin and it's the devil's work. And then there's going to be people who are just like, like that's their business. And it is, right? Their personal life, their love life, that's their business. Now, where I draw the line is if your personal business is trying to be pushed onto someone else, it doesn't even have to be me. If you feel the need to push what you believe onto someone else, you're automatically in the wrong. Yes, I know, right? I'm being very decisive here. You're automatically in the wrong because the reason why you're in the wrong is because you have an opinion. You can't shove your opinion down someone else's throat. You cannot. Yes, you can make people aware of your opinion, but do you say you need to support this because I support this? That is that gray area. That's that, fine line, right? I support this. I'm proud of this. Cool. I understand. I appreciate that. But at the same time, do your best to understand, is this my opinion? Is this my belief? Or was this given to me from someone else? Because you want to make sure that you're true to yourself, number one. Because if you're not true to yourself, how can you be living life? Most people are just kind of going through being copycats and not really focused on, well, I'm focused on me. We're focused on everything else. We're focused on acceptance, right? Because if you can find people who accept the same thing, then you feel at home. I encourage people who have the need to have their opinions believed by everyone else to ask yourself the question, well, what does it mean to have people value what I value? And that's a very powerful question because you get nothing from people valuing what you value. Now, the person might get something from it, but we get nothing. Yeah, we might get a good feeling and things like that, but essentially that's nothing. It's going to dissipate very quickly. So we have to know, well, we can conform people onto our side and we can bring people on to the dark side or whatever you want to pretend it's Star Wars or something. So you have like your Jedis and you have your like Darth Vader or the different sides. I'm not sure of their names, but who is right? Because if you look at someone doing bad, they might have an idea in their mind. Well, I'm doing the work of the Lord. And then you might have someone who's protecting people like firefighters or police. I'm doing the work of the Lord. So you have two people who have the same type of mindset, but they have different opinions to what that work is. So opinion is going to be what you believe. It's going to be self-inflicted onto you, and then it might be the product of the people around you. There's a thing called mob psychosis. So mob psychosis is just talking about how if more people around you are doing something that could be negative, even positive, you're going to be more likely to do it too, right? Because you just get that mob mentality, right? It's just something that happens in our brain. Oh, everyone else is doing it, I'm going to go loot and I'm going to go riot too. And we saw that a lot with the George Floyd riots, where people were going out, they were protesting. Now, I don't know much peaceful protests that are going to be burning down buildings and hurting people. Because if we look back at Dr. Martin Luther King, how he would walk down the streets hand in hand with fellow brothers and sisters, and I'm not even talking about color, because if you look at the lines, there was plenty of people there of different races. And what was happening was they were having conflict. And the only thing they wanted was for the other people to see, just acknowledge. They don't have to believe it, just to see and acknowledge. And eventually, right, that dream, that belief became reality. But today is so constricting because I'm saying, I need this, you need to do that. And then now people feel attacked. Now people feel obligated, when in reality, everyone has a choice to believe what they want, to do what they want, to live how they want. But opinion is going to be moving people in different ways. I've talked about this in the past, right? For example, mask wearing, right? Do you wear a mask or do you not wear a mask, right? Does it protect you or does it not protect you? We could talk about the science. We could talk about the data. But then again, there's going to be people who still wear masks today, even today, after the pandemic's over, after people have become vaccinated. So it's like that right there. It's just going to be personal belief. I believe this is going to protect me. And again, if you believe it long enough, it becomes your truth. And we talked about this on a recent episode where we talked about a lady who was just saying, oh, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. And eventually got the sickness she said she was thinking. The brain is a powerful tool. And we need to make sure that we utilize our brain in the right way, not in just any way. So if you have an opinion, understand your opinion, express your opinion, but understand that your opinion does not have to be anyone else's. And you can walk alone with your opinion. You can still find happiness. You can still find joy. You don't have to look at the world and say, oh my goodness, the world is falling apart. I know people who do like climate change. They're like, I can't believe you drive, that gas guzzler, or you're not recycling or things like that, right? Again, we do our part. But at the same time, if you have an opinion about something or a belief or a system, it doesn't have to become someone else's belief or system. We do have a wonderful thing called laws and regulations that help us understand, well, what's going to be correct to do, right? So you're not going to just go around punching people in the face because that's against the law. We can look at the moral aspect of it too, right? It's not morally right to just go around hurting people. But then again, we can have an opinion on that too. So you can be one of those people who just like causing harm, like causing conflict. And of course, you're going to have your day in court too, just how we saw with Trump and with the TikTok CEO. There's so many people that are going to have conflicting thoughts. And we're going to have questions. And it's okay to have questions. And I encourage people to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, how can you get the answers you're looking for? But yet, we are still going to have a difference in opinion. Now, when you have that difference in opinion, understand the person that you're with can have an exact or a different opinion, and you still could be cordial. You still can be friends. Heck, you could be family too. And you can still find that love, affection, that balance there. We have our opinions front and center. This is what I believe. And if you don't believe it, then we can't conversate, or we can't talk, or we can't do the things that we're supposed to be doing. Being stuck in that mindset, that fixed mindset, is only going to lead to trouble down the road. In a sense, we have to be malleable. In a sense, we have to be structured to focus on the things that we might not know are happening and the things that we can control. Maybe there's going to be some things we can't control, but we focus on the things we can control, and what we can control are our own thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So that means we need to have control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and then make sure that they're going to be not full of opinion, not full of our own identity only, but understanding what our path is and making sure we're following through to our purpose. Opinions are going to be a dime a dozen, and your opinion might not matter because everyone else has an opinion too. What I'll say is to follow what you believe and be it positive, to bring that into the world. And then, of course, things start to change then. Positive can create change. Negative is going to create more divide, more negativity. So I encourage everyone to look at what their opinions are, be it positive, be it negative, and then also be it the change that we need to see into the world. And if you need some guidance to what your opinion is or what your purpose is, head over to reverendconcepts.com, get yourself some coaching, and then begin to understand that what you believe can be your belief, but it doesn't have to be everyone else's. You're going to notice just how much your life can change, and it can change exactly how you want it to. My name is Michael Reardon. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.